What's up guys, how y'all doing? Chunky back here. Welcome to Chunky's World if you're new, and thanks for returning if you've been here before. And I'm back on my channel for a review of Destiny 2. Now most of us, majority of us, Destiny fans or not, know about this game. We've been waiting for this game, we've been hyped for this game, and I'm so sorry, but I needed a week to play through it. I didn't really want to give any impressions or a review without kind of playing through everything it has to offer up until the raid, which just came out recently, which I have not done yet. Before I go on guys, I'd just like to remind you, thank you so much for the support you've given me so far, and hoping we can get to 100 subscribers, so please click that subscribe button down below. You'd be doing me a massive favor. Let's get straight into it. So firstly, after a lot of hype, Destiny 2 is here, but the question is it any good? Now, what I'm about to talk to you about is more of a casual kind of impressions video. This isn't an official review by any means, because Destiny is something that takes a while to come to form, to come to fruition. Now, after all the expansions and the raids and all these different modes that come with time, it's really hard to get a definitive opinion or review on Destiny as it stands now. Most of it is out, most of the vanilla version is out. The raid just came out last night. I have played through the campaign and the multiplayer modes and the strikes and done most of what this version or this iteration has to offer. And straight out the gate, I like it. I think it's really good. I think as a shooter, it's one of the best shooters that you can play mechanically. However, everything else around it is subject to opinion. Now, my main issue is that Destiny 2 wants you to have a fresh start. So basically, you can carry over your old character from the first Destiny if you played it, and if you had a character, it does carry over, but only the looks carry over. None of the gear and attributes carry over, or your level. You have to start from scratch. It plays into the story somewhat, so they really do want you to start over. So if I was you, I wouldn't take my old character over. If you put, hundreds of hours into the first one and you really had an attachment to your character, I would understand that. However, once you do pick that original character from the first game, you can't customize it any further, nor customize it to begin with. So you kind of just stuck with what you have. So if you don't like it and you're going to change your mind later on, I would say don't pick it to begin with and just make a new character and start fresh. The story of Destiny 2 is pretty simplistic. Now, I want to try to cater to the new fans as well. So basically, you play a Guardian. A Guardian is a sort of soldier, literally a guardian of sorts of the Traveler. The Traveler is a big orb in the sky that gives off this essence called light. Now, the villains of the game, the Cabal, have come forward into where the Traveler is, and they've basically trapped it to take the light for themselves. Now, the light has been blocked off, and no Guardians can access the light. The light is pretty much the power that gives them the ability to do what they do. Now, you spend the campaign having lost your light, having found the light again, and bringing back the Traveler to all the Guardians so they can access the light. Now, it sounds complicated, but that's as simple as I can put it without really spoiling anything. The story this time around is much better. It's much more cinematic. There's a lot more cutscenes, there's a lot more context, and there's a lot more lore infused in there. And what I mean by that is, in the first game, you had to access these cards called Grimoire cards, and these cards were located basically off the game on the Bungie or Destiny website. That's a bad way to really give us your lore. That's a bad way to explain the world and the characters and the state of each planet and the background and backstory before going into the to the game in the first place. So it's all here, it's all condensed, it's all compact in the one game. You don't have to go anywhere else. And with that being said, I enjoyed the story. The story doesn't last too long, but then again, it's not the main focus of the game. And with the expansions coming forward, there will be more story added. So it's really hard to say the story's bad to begin with. Once the story finishes is where the game really does open up, and it really encourages you and to grind. I would say grind is the term, and basically push forward to get your level up, because once you reach a level cap of 20, there is a light level. Now, the light level is an accumulation of sorts of all the gear that you have equipped, and the power levels and the certain damage levels and stuff of your gear raises your light level. Now, the real aim of the game is, after the story, to raise that light level and keep getting better and better gear in order to raise that light level, so you can take part in things like such as raids or particular missions which have a minimum recommended light level. Now, the best thing about the game is that the mechanics are just so sound. It is the best feeling shooter I think I've ever played. It just feels good to shoot shit. It's that's the most simple iteration, that's the most simple way I can put it forward to you. So the grind doesn't actually feel, monotonous or mundane. Even though it technically is repetitive, there are so many environments, there are so many different missions and ways to keep you engaged and invested through obviously the loot and gear system, that it's really hard to say that this game is boring in any way. However, I do understand the complaints that it can get repetitive because it does encourage the grind in order to make those events like the raids or specific strikes, or just to be on a level where you can play with your friends cooperatively and not really feel like you're falling behind. It is hard in that sense because you really do need to put a few hours into this game before you're ready for something like the raid, which is a light level of about 260 or 270. So it does require a bit of time and a bit of kind of commitment in a way, which some fans will appreciate, but it's really hard to get new fans on board when it comes to that end game content. As a new fan, you're playing the story, you will enjoy what's presented to you. It's presented in a way that makes much more sense, especially if you haven't been in the world of Destiny as it stands. But in saying that, after the story, it does get complicated. Bungie wanted to direct this game towards new and old fans alike, but it's hard for those new fans to really get acquainted with the systems that it offers because it's just so complex and there's so much going on, especially after that campaign finishes. You have missions like strikes, which are more elongated missions. Basically a variation of a campaign mission, if you will, where you kind of go through an environment, take out enemies, and take out a final boss at the end. It's not really that complex, but it does require some grinding and some gear. And even though it does give you better gear as a result, it does take time to really get there, and you need to finish the story to begin with. So what I would say is most of the story is great. It's good for new fans. It keeps you on board. Just do the story missions and nothing else, and you'll be entertained. However, when you get to the end game, it will be much more complex, especially coming out the gate and not really knowing anything about Destiny to begin with. But on the positive side, for returning fans, if you know what's going on and if you've played it all before, this is definitely going to keep you happy. I don't think personally that it's enough to be a whole new fresh game and a new experience. It still is Destiny at its core, but that's not a bad thing. If it ain't broke, don't fix it. It's one of those things where you like it, you like it. If you don't, you don't. So I understand why Destiny fans are going crazy over this, because it really is good if you know what to expect from a Destiny experience. I'm trying to cover it very broadly. I haven't really gone into the nature of each mission or each mode. However, everything is functional. Everything is good. The multiplayer mode is as good as ever. The Crucible mode is really good. However, it is a bit challenging. I mean, you're getting people that have been playing Destiny for hours and hours and hours. Within a couple of days, everyone had already hit the level cap and a light level of about 200. So you're coming up against people that know what they're doing. So once again, it's going to be hard for newer fans to get into this. However, if you're a new fan, you will actually enjoy it if you do give it some time. It takes a while to break into. It's like new leather of sorts. You need to really stretch it out, give it a workout, and see how it feels after a certain amount of time. However, guys, after playing this game for a week, I'm on the fence because I was someone that dropped Destiny, the first Destiny, because I just didn't agree with the business model. I didn't agree with paying so much money to basically keep the experience going, and I felt like charging me a full price for the vanilla version was a rip-off of sorts. However, if you had have bought it on release day, you would have paid about $60-70 for it, and another $30 for the first expansion. It does come at the price of a full game in that sense, so it does make a little bit more sense. However, I didn't give Destiny 1 that much of a chance, and now that I have given it more of a chance and actually given it everything that it has to offer, obviously apart from the raid, which I will do very soon, I'm content. I'm happy. There's definitely room for improvement, but I feel like that improvement's coming because, like I said, with the first Destiny, I feel like a lot of people who jumped off early, for valid reasons, if you don't want to pay extra money, if you didn't like it, if you didn't like the way it felt or the way it played, it lacked in story and stuff like that, I totally understand those concerns. Most of them are fixed here, but it doesn't do enough. It's tweaks here and there. Those tweaks make it much better if you notice them, but it's kind of hard to recommend to new fans to jump on board and give it time. But if you do give it time, you do put a couple hours into it, if you do finish the story, first and foremost, the story is the easiest way to get that level 20 cap and then get the gear in order to get your light level up from there. If you do play the story, I think you will enjoy it for the most part. However, once the story finishes and the end game content begins, it is the most exciting part of the game in my opinion, because it's that grind, risk reward factor. It's almost like a little bit of gambling, to be quite honest with you, just hoping for that best gear all the time and just leveling up constantly in order to be in tip-top shape. It gets a little bit hard, and while I won't necessarily explain it, I think half of it is just looking up what it means and looking up what each mode does and how to get the best gear, because everyone can go about it differently. There are so many ways to get different gear, and there's so many ways to get gear to level up. It's hard to just recommend one myself. I would say that after the end game content, try everything out, see what you like. At the moment, there is actually a ton of stuff to do. So if you did just buy the vanilla version, the initial purchase, and don't plan on buying any kind of extra content afterwards, I think you don't get shortchanged here. I think there's a lot, given that you give it a chance, because it does take a while to really sink your teeth into. That being said, guys, if I had to give it a ranking, a score, some kind of verdict, I would give it a solid play. It does verge on a must play. If you're a Destiny fan, it is a must play. However, the fact that it is just so hard to sink your teeth into if you're a new fan is really a negative, and I can't work my way around that, considering that I myself had to kind of look up a couple modes and a couple things and actually freshen up on the lore, because there is just so much going on. It can be a little bit intimidating, but that does not mean it's a bad shooter. This is one of the best shooters as far as mechanics go, and that alone can draw people in, guys. So I would recommend that you buy it. Obviously, if you're a previous fan, you would have probably bought it already. If you're a new fan on the fence, I would say give it a try. The initial purchase is definitely worth the money at the moment, and who knows, you might even get convinced to buy the expansions in the future, because there is a lot more coming and there's a lot more to offer that will actually change the game as a result. So with that being said, guys, Destiny 2, what do you think about it? If you have an opinion, comment down below. If you like this video, please leave a like down below. You'd be doing me a huge favor, and most of all, guys, subscribe. Join the journey to 100 subscribers. Hopefully we'll get there very soon, but after all is said and done, guys, thank you so much for your support. I appreciate every single one of you, and thanks for stopping by Chunky's World. I'll see you soon. Take care.